had an all-encompassing passion at GT bikes. And I think it just kind of spilled over to everybody. You know, everybody who worked there was always excited to be there.
There was a culture sort of in GT that was built around the expectation that winning is what mattered.
You know, Richard and I, we were at every bike race every weekend somewhere. You know, we all our career BMXing and into mountain biking.
As a company, it understood that R&D evolved from competition.
Hey, we want to sell some bikes, we want to win, and we want to prove we get the best stuff out there.
With Mountain Bike Action, we appreciated GTs because if there was one thing we could always say about the bikes is that they were durable because they were stinking built tough.
There was a bunch of guys already racing, you know, these bikes downhill and everything, and there was already the rumbles about suspension at that time.
Downhilling had become its own world championship discipline. Cross country was its own discipline. It was very clear that a hardtail wasn't going to do it, you know, in downhilling. And designs were just popping up left and right. I mean, it was a free-for-all back then. You know, G2 took immediate notice of that, and once again, true to GT's culture, it's like, we don't want to just be reactive to what's going on. We want to be proactive. We want to get ahead of it.
We had brought Forrest into the fold, and he was doing, you know, some real high-end stuff for us. But we hadn't really finalized or had a suspension bike.
Yeah, Jim Busby was hanging out in Laguna Beach. He was riding with our riding group, the Laguna Rats, often. And
those guys were hard on bikes, for sure. You know, none of this namby-pamby like, you know, JPL. Like, oh, look at, there's a rock over there. You know, they were doing these huge drop-ins back then.
My whole life, I've just wanted to fix things. Problem solver. I see a problem, how do I fix it? Why does that happen? And understanding why.
He was actually a very good rider himself, and he would always ask a lot of questions and observe and be very scientific about everything.
Well, I mean, obviously travel, you're going to be limited. You know, if you have something with that much anti-squat.
Jim is definitely a bit of a mad scientist, kind of the wacky professor thing.
Jim, he's got a lot of stuff going on up there.
Well, if the freewheel's spinning at this speed, it wouldn't in fact pull on the chain unless you were doing this.
He was beyond where everybody else was. And I remember everybody just saying, God, he's crazy.
He's intelligent guy, right? Everybody's smart in different ways.
Was on a bike doing test runs, and he came bombing down the hill, and he's yelling at everybody, get out of the way. Like, this guy's a maniac.
He was just amazing, like the things he would think of, and he never stopped.
I mean, that was my life, was just fixing things. I was going, man, it's not right. There's something missing.
I had a friend of mine, his name was Tom Cirillo. His son was Trenton Cirillo. Trenton called me up and he asked me, he goes, I've got this friend of mine, he's got this design he'd made, and he goes, could I bring it to you and show it to you? So Trenton came over a couple of days later and he brought Jim Busby with him.
You know, Gary was kind of the I don't know, the moxie, the character, what it was about. You just say Gary Turner, and that was Gary Turner. That was the bike. That's why it said GT.
And Jim had made this bike in his garage. He'd kind of cobbled it together. He'd cut up some bikes and took a couple of bike frames to make the one.
No, it wasn't just kind of cobby. It was cobby, you know, because that's what, I just made things.
And it had a rocker down by the bottom bracket. And when the chainstays would pivot, and the top pivoted and the bottom rockered, and it would push the shock forward. I said, Jim, would you be interested in me setting up a meeting with me and you and Richard?
I don't know, there was something about Richard Long. It was like, I don't know, a father figure, just someone that you looked up to. He always spoke in either double caps, but nothing ever came out of his mouth that wasn't loud. And, you know, just some people are just driven to get it done. I go to GT, and I am so nervous.
And I had gotten Richard and Bill Deering and Diane Shaw.
All these people are in this room, and they're kind of looking at it, and they got Forrest's new bike up over here.
First we go outside and ride the bike around. And then all of a sudden Richard, you know, his eyeballs got bigger than saucers, and he goes, why didn't you tell me about this? I said, dude, I've been trying to, you know. I said, I think this is a golden opportunity.
So I go, look, man, I'll give you the bike if you just give me a job. No, there's no royalties, no nothing else. I need a job, you know, and I got a kid, and we live in a trailer. Here, you can have it. You just do it.
It
was buzzing around GT. We're going to make this. It's going to be awesome.
You know, we saw it, again, because we all worked in the same building, we saw it getting tinkered with in the back and the early stages of it and everything else. And the feeling was this was a bike that was going to really kind of give our guys and gals the tool that they needed to be real competitive.
At that point, the downhills weren't as gnarly, obviously, because we were on hardtails. And so that whole rocker system underneath the bottom bracket that you could pedal, that was a pretty big deal then, because it smoothed out that. So you could pedal through some of that chatter, and you could brake, like actually slow down in the braking bumps instead of shake yourself to a stop.
The technology of the bike was cool, and the pure seat tube, you know, it was just like, whoa, there's a lot going on there. And the whole rocker arm, you know, no one, that was a level of sophistication there that nobody else was doing just yet.
I think the biggest problem was trying to get it to work together, so the front and the back was matching, because it was so much better than no suspension that really almost anything was better. But then once the shock started working for the bike, it was great.
Julie Furtado, man, where do you start when you talk about Julie?
Furtado was just bold and brash, you know, the whole New York thing, you know, and just a spirit animal.
Maybe the most talented athlete I know, period.
I came from skiing, you know, and going to college on a ski scholarship, trying cycling and winning road nationals and winning mountain bike worlds right when I'm graduating college, right at the ascent of the sport. And, you know, I couldn't have asked for a better sport to get involved with at that time and at that time in my life.
One of a kind. I mean, I don't, words kind of escape me when I talk to Julie. Just, there's nobody else like, an icon, just an icon.
Just look at her knees, that alone, you're just like, good Lord, like, what are you can still ride a bicycle, you know? And I remember one time I talked about, I've had 5 knee operations, you know, and I've had these scopes, and she's like, where? And I'm like, well, there's a scope here, and she just like laughed at me, and I felt like about this big, because I'm talking about thinking 5 knee operations, and it's like, she's like, I'll get that done before lunch, you know? She's so tough, and that's, you know, as a guy, I'm just like, oh, God, bitching, you know? I mean, it's like they don't make them like you in SoCal.
I didn't go to World Championships in Bromont in '92 because our first child was due.
Yeah, the cross country didn't go so well. I dislocated my kneecap, or my knee, I don't know, one of those things, and then I couldn't really paddle. And so I'm pretty sure I dropped out.
It was just this beautiful day up in Bromont, Canada. This sweeping view of this whole valley down to Quebec, everywhere, wherever. It was just, you know, Canada.
And I had already done the qualifying for the downhill because it was actually really good downhill for me. Technical, but not a lot of air because I don't do air well.
There was like real downhill racers from Europe that were there.
I'd never ridden the RTS.
Didn't seem like she'd ridden it more than less than a handful of times.
And in the qualifying, I had a flat. And so for the downhill, I was starting last. Zap was at the top, and we were just kind of joking around.
It wasn't like she was like on a wind trainer, you know, or going through the motions, doing push-ups or checking her bike, you know, or just sitting there like eating a blade of grass, you know, yeah, you know.
I had to raise my seat because I couldn't bend my knee enough.
Literally, the two of us sitting up there, and you get off in the background, you know, it was like, you know, 3, 2, 1, the girls going off.
I went, and I had to pass about 2 people because I was back with the really slow people.
In 40th position, Penny Davidson now, 5:23:30.
And I get to the bottom, you know, and by that time, you know, she had already, of course, finished across the finish line.
Here's Julie Furtado of the United States.
Yeah, I won.
Upset.
I think they're probably already doing awards, because like I said, it was a big gap to when I came down.
You know, they're thinking it's like, you know, Furtado, what the hell is she gonna do, you know?
It was Missy Giovi and Giovanni, I don't know, whoever was at the bottom line pissed off like, when I came down.
Amazing. She's kind of amazing though, she wins everything.
So I was at the trade show, somebody came running up, and I remember pausing just like, what? She won the downhill? It was immediately followed by, I'm not surprised. It goes back to just Julie.
I remember doing a couple practice days. We would do some of the cross-country sections together with tree roots and, you know, good little drops and stuff, and she would just nail it, and I'd be like, whoa, she's got some skills.
That's a testament to the quality of the bike and the handling characteristics. She could just jump on it. The first time she'd ever raced a downhill was the World Championships and win.
Like, oh my God. Like, it's making me want to cry right now because you work so hard to do something. And you want so bad for things you do to, you know, mean something to someone.
It's like one of the greatest upsets probably in mountain bike history.
I didn't know at the time that that would be one of the things people remembered me for, is the fact that I won cross country and downhill worlds. Like, I didn't understand the significance of that, but that is true today. I don't think anyone's done that.
Just to be a part of something like that with someone of that stature is like, really? From the RTS came the LTS.
Kind of crazy, you know, the shock up on top, the curves of the seat stays, and
It was a bike that delivered.
We had the best of the best in every level.
You know, Mikey should be beating me at this race, but maybe not by this much.
We knew that the LTS was a great design. We always wanted more.
And he ain't gonna stop. And I mean, just slam it.
You know, the early models of those things broke.
Unless you're gonna try everything and fail, how do you think you get better at things?